Hey, this is Rafael. I want to add some context to this question. This is regarding KPIs. I always tell managers to focus on some basic fundamental KPIs so you can get started, and here are three of them. The first one is productivity. Total units, in your case, phone calls, divided by total labor hours. That's going to give you a throughput or productivity of the number of calls that is associated for each labor hour that you have. Number two is efficiency, is just flip that over, total time or total labor hours divided by total units. That's going to tell you how much time it's taking per phone call. Number three is cost per unit, meaning that total cost divided by the total number of phone calls should give you an idea of what the cost is per phone call. And I agree, you can't change the calls that are coming in, but you have to be able to manage those effectively and efficiently. Without looking at the data, there's a couple of things you want to consider is wait time, the drop calls, transfers, and closures. But here's some fundamentals that I always coach managers do. Understand what the current state is. Pull the data for the last 3 years and understand what that performance is overall with those three KPIs. That should give you a general idea of how the team's performing, both from an individual standpoint and from a team perspective. The second thing is that you've got to understand what the activities are. In your case, phone calls. So there should be categories of the types of phone calls that you have with reasonable expectation and frequency. For example, sometimes you have phone calls that are quickly resolved for whatever reason. What is the reasonable expectation for that? And what is the frequency per week? You might have 100, 200, 300. But then again, on the far end of it, you might have some complicated calls that take 10 minutes, which is okay, but you've got to be able to segment those in different categories to understand what the total activities are, in your case, the types of phone calls. And the third thing is you have to understand what the barriers are that are causing these issues for delays. For example, if one of the barriers is that maybe the employee doesn't know the script and what to say, lack of training, or doesn't have the right equipment, or doesn't know where to transfer the call to, or doesn't know how to resolve the issue when a situation comes in. So you got to be able to understand those barriers, and it's to do with the process. Right now, it's all the process, and the other thing also is that it might be a barrier that the customer or someone that called didn't call the right number. That could be a barrier. So in your situation, those barriers are the items that are hindering the closure of the call that causes lost time for your employee. So remember, if the goal is to process urgent calls with a level of quality and a level of service, then that's the goal. Anything that doesn't meet that goal is considered lost time. And that's the thing you clearly have to understand. So if you have any more questions about what KPIs are, let me know in the comments. I do have an ebook in my Stand store that will help you get started. But again, if you have any questions, please follow us account.